In Australia, we have just had a federal election. A mixed bag of conventional and splinter parties and independents, all vying for a place at the table of Australia's Parliament. In the late colonial period of New South Wales, 1838 to 1851, there were no elections per se, but there were still powerful groups from both sides who saw society to be moulded in the shape of their own vision. Hi, Michael Beashel, Australian historical fiction writer here again, and we're back to the Wentworth v Macarthur series of title fights. Yes, in the early colonial period we saw William Charles Wentworth, Australia's favourite colonial son, a Whig and a passionate Republican. I guess we could call him now versus the entrenched powerful squattocracy of the land-owning and wool-breeding class led by his old nemesis, the Macarthurs. Now, a lot of their fights came down to land. Who owned it, who was going to farm it, and who reaped the benefit of it. Now, there was one interesting story according to the Sydney Morning Herald, where William Charles Wentworth wanted to own land in New Zealand. And this was not just a hobby farm, but 20 million acres. Yes, 20 million in the South Island in return for 200 gold sovereigns to pay up front and the same amount each year to the Maori chiefs in their lifetimes. Governor Gibbs, when learning of this, said it wouldn't hold and the treaty would be unenforceable. And when Wentworth refused to accept this, Gibbs asked the Legislative Council on 28th of May 1842 to ban the treaty. Gibbs also asked that James Macarthur, the famous John Macarthur's son, take over the place of Philip King in the colony because Gibbs thought that Wentworth's ridiculous claim to New Zealand prevented him from being a proper Legislative Council member. Now, good old Wentworth, he wouldn't take this lying down. He wasn't to be outdone, and 30th of June he defended his action in New Zealand. Macarthur said that any such land ownership in New Zealand would only lead to disorder. Again, the press attacked Wentworth for his exorbitant rapacity and alluded again to his own promiscuity and to his convict mother. Wentworth was not finished with the governor. He was always going after authority. According to the Australian newspaper and the Sydney Morning Herald, from about 1844 in that year, in April, he pressed for self-government. He said those elected sons of the soil who could replace the present incumbents who had no fixed interest in the soil of Australia, no passionate concern for its future glory. When he spoke at the Legislative Council in June, he attacked Governor Gibbs for the man preventing this open dialogue for people's representation. So again, we have just had a great election, which we assume is normal, but not in that period. Wentworth demanded that the Legislative Council be employed to draw up bills of impeachment against ministers of the Crown. A bit like today's Republicans, Wentworth was violently against the governors of the colonies constantly having to refer to Downing Street for instructions. So there you have it. It's later in 1844, Wentworth partnered with Robert Lowe of the opposition party in council against Gibbs. Now, Macarthur's group, including Benjamin Boyd, or Ben Boyd, wanted self-government for the plutocrats of New South Wales. So again we see the battle between those who wanted Australia as a republic in the South Seas compared to those who, with his own self-representation of people in Parliament, like we've had just the recent election, versus those who saw just a cookie-cutter copy of the English system stamped on the Australian soil. Pretty good stuff. So there's another battle between the Macarthurs, the Tories on one side, and the Wentworths, the Whigs on the other, biasedly mediated by a governor in the late colonial period of New South Wales. In other videos we'll see more of the highlights of the people of this fascinating period. It's Michael Beashall. Goodbye for now.